Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of Dune. My name is Shahbaz, and of course I am joined by my two other co-hosts, but one of them is currently stuck in the spice mines of Arrakis, so he cannot speak. But the other one is my trusty soldier.
Wait, what?
Daniel.
Why can't I speak?
I never
right now.
Who is that talking?
Got in this mind.
Who is this talking? What is a sandworm?
Yeah,
Daniel, how are you today?
I'm good. I am good. I was saying it the way you said Dune.
Oh, okay,
no, I'm
okay,
good.
okay.
Honestly, it's very surreal that
We're saying Dune.
We're saying Dune, and we're talking about Dune, and I'm excited to talk more about Dune and say Dune. Dune.
Where's my car?
Dune, where's my car?
Dune, where's my spice? All right, and the other person here again is Anthony. But Anthony, you have not seen Dune.
Yeah, I wasn't invited, but I'm here.
But you got to watch Soho though, which our review is out right now. You can listen to that.
That's
Last night
true.
in Soho.
That's true. As always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday and watch out throughout the week for review episodes on all the latest movies and series. Make sure to follow us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We're still on the hunt for 200 5-star reviews. And also join our Discord. All those show notes are in the links down below. Most importantly, though, we have a new email. It's hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. Send us an email. Send us what you're watching, how you've liked our coverage so far. All of that we would love to know. I'm going to kick it over to Daniel for some of these announcements, because I know everybody loves hearing Daniel in the announcements.
Here. No, that's my Spencer voice. That was my Spencer voice.
So your Dune voice has to be a bit more.
My Dune voice
intense.
is like announcements. No, listen. I don't want to spend too much time on the announcements this week.
Okay, then I'll skip past
But I will
it.
say this. We have a great interview
Uh-huh.
with action designer Young Lee.
Yes, we do.
Who worked on Shang-Chi. He's worked on The Kingsman. He's worked on Kingsman 2. Solo Star Wars Story. Check out that episode. It's a great episode. I know it's a little bit further back on the feed now because we're putting out all of these reviews. But make sure you listen to it. That's our last main episode of the movie podcast. Anthony worked on some really great videos that you could also check out on our Instagram TV page. So if you go to @TheMoviePodcast on Instagram, you can watch some really cool clips. Definitely check those out. And yeah, that's the biggest thing I want to plug this week.
Love it. Today, we're talking about Dune, which we had the chance to watch at the Toronto International Film Festival. It's our local festival, so yeah, pretty cool. It was nice to be able to just go downtown and watch a movie, and especially in IMAX. This movie stars Timothée Chalamet, who's, a fan favorite on this show.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, I'll say. Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, Stephen McKinley Henderson, Zendaya, David Dastmalchian, David Dastmalchian, Chang, Chen, Sharon Duncan-Brewster, Charlotte Rampling, Jason Momoa, and Javier Bardem. This movie is directed by Denis Villeneuve, and it'll be available on October 22nd in theaters and HBO Max. And I'm going to kick it over to Daniel for our synopsis.
Paul Atreides, a brilliant and gifted young man born to a great destiny beyond his understanding, must travel to the most dangerous planet in the universe to ensure the future of his family and his people. As a malevolent force explode into conflict over the planet's exclusive supply of the most precious resource in existence, only those who could conquer their own fear will survive.
Daniel, I'm going to leave it to you to also give us our first reactions to Dune.
Wow. Okay, I mean, going into Dune, I think we all had the expectation of this being a massive film. And I think the best way I could describe this movie, it's massive. That is literally the one and only word that comes to my mind when watching this. It's grand. We were able to watch it in IMAX. I was so glad we were able to watch it in IMAX, but the way this film just takes over the screen, the way this film just transports you from the very first frame, it's exactly what we would expect from Denis Villeneuve. And I think because it's what we were expecting, that's actually exactly what we got, and I'm cool with that. I think the action set pieces were incredible. Obviously, the practical effects were gorgeous. The sound design the score from Hans Zimmer, everything is top notch on this film. My biggest issue with this film, and I think the thing that leaves me a little frustrated, is that this is very much half a movie. And I mean that, this movie's still 2.5 hours long, but this story is just half of the book. Maybe not even as half of the book. And I think where it leaves you in a place where, like, man, I can't wait to see a sequel to this. But to know that, one, a sequel's not even greenlit, to know that it hasn't been shot yet, that leaves me a little uneasy on where is this going to be. Is this film going to go down in the books as a really great movie, but is it going to go in the books of like Alita and like John Carter of Mars and like a bunch of these other sci-fi world films that we thought were going to get a sequel to, but really it just left with one? This movie opens with the title Dune Part One, and it very much is a Part One. It's like, for my Lord of the Rings fans out there, it's literally like if you are ending the first Fellowship of the Ring when you finally get the Fellowship together before they even set out together. In Rivendell, it's like Merry and Pippin are like, oh, where are we going? And like that's where it ends.
Directed by Denis.
But again, this is directed by Denis Villeneuve. This film is gorgeous. This is such a well-crafted film. The performances from Timothée Chalamet, from Oscar Isaac, from Rebecca Ferguson, phenomenal. Jason Momoa was great too. Everybody else felt like they were being set up for a more important role down the road. So where am I at with this movie? I think it's great. I think it's epic in this literal definition of epic and massive. But I'm very much left with half a heart knowing that I want to know what's going to happen. I don't really want to read the book, but I want to see what Denis was going to bring to this. And I really hope that this film does well. We've spoken about this enough on the movie podcast. Is this going to bring in the box office to give us a sequel? I don't know if it is, but what we did get was a great promise, and it gave me a great hope for what this series can be. And I really hope we get it.
I 100% agree with you. And again, I don't think we don't want to read the book because we don't like books or anything, but
we don't like books. We're not the book podcast.
We're not the book podcast, but we're the movie podcast. We love movies. I want to go into this not knowing about anything.
Right.
And that's kind of how we went in. We don't know anything about the lore. So we were as fresh as we could be. And again, that's going to be majority of the audience that wants to see this movie.
The movie needs this movie. Yes, it is based off a book, but a movie needs to stand on its own from 100%. The book, right? It can't be reliant on a book.
100%. And, to give my thoughts on the film here, I loved it. I had a great time with it, but the quality and, how much longevity is this movie going to stay in my mind is going to depend solely on the fact of if we find out there's going to be a Dune Part 2. Because if this movie is just this movie, then maybe I don't like it as much as I think I do. Because everything about this movie seems like a great promise. There's a lot of that's happening in this movie that's a foreshadowing towards the future. A lot of the action scenes, a lot of the moments that occur in this film are, well, this is going to be in Part 2. So what this movie is setting up is getting me really excited, and I had a great time watching it. But if Part 2 doesn't really come, then on its own, it's kind of wobbling. It doesn't stand up that well, because again, it ends very anticlimactic. It just kind of ends like you it's about to end because the story is kicking in a certain way, and it's about to get really damn good from here. So you're like, oh, it's been 2 hours for sure. But what I will say about this film is the pacing I thought was really good because I didn't feel bored. I was very entertained. I loved every moment that was on the screen because the characters, the lore, everyone was bringing their A game. Oscar Isaac, but I think the person who sold the show for me the most was Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah, she was great in it.
She was so phenomenal to watch in this movie, and her relationship with Timothée Chalamet's Paul was amazing. There's not a lot of weird looking characters that sometimes might throw a lot of general audiences off. They're all very human looking.
Right. They're definitely, like Stellan Skarsgård's people, they're a little freaky looking.
They're a little freaky looking, but they also look like they could just be people we see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they do. Yeah, they're humanoid enough to not be like, oh, that's a CG creature.
Yeah, they don't have like 7 eyes and like things like that. But yeah, this movie again has a beautiful score, and we got to see it in IMAX. So those IMAX moments are stunning. The promise of, I guess, Zendaya being the lead in the next film is also exciting because the 30 seconds that we see of her in this movie, she seems very cool. She seems very interesting. And again, a lot of it is just set up for what's going to happen. This movie is primarily Timothée Chalamet's visions of the future, of what's gonna happen, of this big fight, of this big moment of fighting over the spice between these two families.
Give me the spice. Yeah, and that's the thing. I again, this isn't a spoiler, but it is more of a revelation that all the footage you see of Zendaya in the trailer is basically what's in the movie.
Yes.
With the exception of a little bit, some extra dialogue. She very much is a presence throughout the movie, but she is not given anything really to do until we get this hypothetical sequel. Anthony, we've been talking a long time. Where's your mind at right now from
What's your
everything
question
we've
for
been
us?
My question is not a question. It's more of like a observation, just based on what you've been saying and hearing. I'm just wondering why they made this film.
That's a great question.
Why make this film if you weren't planning other films?
It's a big risk and a gamble, right?
It's so weird to make a film that's so long. First of all, the book, and I haven't read the book or know of the book until Dune was mentioned. I'm like, oh, I heard of this story, but it's a very large story.
Mm-hmm.
And to build a film that's just on the whims that if it makes enough money, we'll make more. It just doesn't make sense. How do you invest the money into a film that's half the movie or half the book? You have to make the whole thing
100%.
And then
Yes.
and now from the sound of it, like, we're waiting to hear if this movie makes a lot of money. If it does, that's when they'll start making the sequel.
Yeah.
Which could be 4 to 5 years. So you lose the momentum of this film, and that's super
Frustrating.
Yes,
100%.
And I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
October 22nd.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard from your dialogue is it's not complete.
Yes.
And that doesn't make sense to me.
This movie, if it wasn't part one, this would be Dune, a prologue. This is 100%. The amount of story and the amount of stuff that we're getting is maybe like 50 pages of a book. Again, I don't know how many pages of the book or what it is, but what we're actually getting here is such a small sliver of what seems like a bigger story.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling. And again, it's very for them to call it, Dune Part One, that is a statement. That is a belief that there will be sequels, and I really hope that means we'll get sequels. But I wish Warner Brothers would have said already, yes, we are developing the sequels with Denis, so we could continue this universe. If we knew that a sequel was coming next year, I'd feel better about it. But and that's my biggest thing. Dune has been some of our most anticipated films of the year, and I still think it was a great time at the movies. But on its own, the technical merits are there. But on its own as a story, it's not like you maybe think, well, Daniel or Shay, Anthony, is it not like the Harry Potter series where Philosopher's Stone came out and then Chamber of Secrets? No, it's literally like ending Philosopher's Stone halfway. It's like literally ending it after they got past Fluffy, and then they end it there.
That, or like he gets the snitch, he catches the golden snitch, where it's like so early on.
Yeah, you're just like, okay, like we're very early on to this movie for it to be ending here, and for the way it did end. Again, it was a great scene, but to end your movie after in a very anticlimactic way, as almost like a setup, you're like, okay, really cool, but where really cool, Dune, but where is this? I don't want people to feel like this isn't a good movie, because it is a very well made, beautiful movie.
I loved it,
but it's just very much half of a movie.
Very much half of a movie. And I think one of my issues that I'm
Can I
having
compare it
with
to something? It's
Please.
like a Big Mac without
what?
the burger.
Maybe never compare things again, because
Oh God,
I'll be honest,
we all love
we
Big
were
Macs.
we were on the same page.
no, it's literally like a Big Mac, but it's
Only the fries.
It's only half of the Big Mac. It's like you cut a Big Mac half, and
Or
you're
a
like
quarter of a Big Mac.
a quarter. You cut it, and I'm like, yeah, you could just have this. I'm like, yeah, this is really good, but can I have the rest of it? Because I'm still hungry.
Right.
I mean, I think,
And I ordered-
I
my analogy was
think
good.
my analogy is better.
my
When you
analogy
order a
was
combo
good,
and
okay?
they just give you the appetizer.
Yeah, but the appetizer. Oh, the appetizer is good.
Okay,
But
nobody knows
but
what
here's the thing,
appetizer.
though.
Fries.
But we didn't order a whole book, is what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. But we ordered it.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, we're still making it. But if you like those fries, then we'll give you the whole book.
Maybe we'll give you
or the whole movie. Sorry, the burger.
Maybe we'll give you.
What is the analogy?
Listen.
My issue that I was trying to bring up the whole time was. This movie is not marketed as Dune Part One.
No, it's not.
The only time this movie says Dune Part One is
when you bought your ticket.
The opening credits say Dune Part One. The closing credits still say Dune. So
that's very confusing.
There's like this weird, commitment to it being Dune Part One. It's as if they're like 1 foot in, 1 foot out of like, if you guys like it, maybe we'll continue. Whereas I remember when we watched It was never marketed as It Chapter 1, and it stands alone on its own. That is a movie. And that is a movie that's a great analogy here because both movies are based on one book.
Yes.
It Chapter 1, It Chapter 2 are still one movie.
Right, but It Chapter 1 is a perfect ending that you don't even need to watch
and
part
it says
2.
It Chapter 2 will be coming soon. It ends with It Chapter 1.
Yes.
Whereas if this movie started off with Dune and then ended with Dune Part 1, that might have made more sense to me going, oh, okay, we're going to be getting more. Yeah,
but we weren't even promised before it, correct me if I'm wrong.
We weren't.
That there was a Part 2 coming.
No, we weren't. And that was the surprise that
was
made
the surprise
it
at
beautiful.
The end. That people were like, oh, wow, a Part 2 is coming. But Part 1 is still beginning to end a complete story.
Exactly.
This is literally half of a story of being told where you don't know how it ends, and what we've gone so far is really good, but it just feels like this is not over yet. I can't. It's so hard to rate this because I haven't finished this yet.
And again, I know it sounds like being negative on it, but again, I want to reiterate this is still a fantastic movie, super well directed, beautifully looking. It has just. Oh my God, just some amazing score. Like Hans Zimmer is just killing it with all these different instruments that he's using, some that I probably never even heard of. But
he went to Arrakis.
But again, the fault that this movie has is if it doesn't get a sequel, a lot of this film's love and rating will go down, in my opinion, because it's incomplete. I'm loving this movie a lot right now with this theoretical hope that we get a sequel.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, we look at Denis' last movie, Blade Runner 2049. That was a sequel.
Yes.
To a 30-year
classic.
A 30-year in the making sequel, but still a complete movie. Yes, it didn't light the box office on fire, but it's still a complete movie. You could watch it beginning to end and be okay. This movie, you could watch it beginning to end and be like, wow, that was really great, but how come a movie just ends? And that's my biggest complaint right now. It's all development for Timothée Chalamet's character. It's all his development. Everybody is set up for future roles that we may or may not get.
Right.
Hot take.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spice take.
I think this really shows or showcases how unstable Warner Brothers as a company is.
They have commitment issues. They've always had commitment issues. They've always had commitment issues. It's not new though, right?
It's not just with this. It's with all their
DC.
DC world. It's with the HBO Max deal. It's with talking to their directors before making that deal. It's with the planning of other films that are coming out. It's very unstable, and I feel like it's going to crash.
It's a house of cards.
It's going to cause them to have some serious repercussion. Because again, like I can't believe they made a film that's half done. Like,
they need to greenlight Dune Part 2 to ensure the success of Dune Part 1. That's what I think.
That's
what I think.
That's what I think I'm hearing from both of you.
Right. Do you guys think we're going to get to final recommendations soon, obviously, but do you think going into Dune, we're still about a month or so away from this movie, do you think we will have an announcement of a sequel before the worldwide release of this film?
I hope so. That's what I'm hoping for.
You're confident in that?
If it succeeds at TIFF, I think that will push forward the sequel.
I hope. I really do hope.
I don't know if a film festival is going to make a big budget film get its sequel, but I like where your head's at.
I think the reviews will.
I hope, and I hope
think
so.
If the reviews help it, because I think that's what it needs. It needs the reviews.
Yes.
Yes, it needs the money.
Yeah.
But they shot themselves in the foot by offering this as an HBO Max same day streaming.
Yeah.
So it's not going to get the same money.
Yeah.
But it will in the future if you give it the reviews.
Yeah.
Because this is not it's not Blade Runner 2049. This is you're telling me the pacing of this film is very like fast paced, and you really want to see these battles.
Definitely, it's not as slow as Blade Runner. It's definitely, it's not a super quick paced movie, but I think it has great action sequences that you get just so lost in, you don't realize how long you've been in this world.
Correct. Yeah. There's a lot of depth in this movie and a lot of exposition that is well placed, which is why the pacing didn't bother me, because to be honest, I didn't feel the pace in this film. Like, I was so entranced while watching this movie. It kept going and going and going, and I was like, okay, cool. And then when it ended, I was like, oh, I have a feeling this is where it's going to start to end. But whereas in Blade Runner 2049, there are slow moments or slowdowns. There's still slow moments in this movie, but because there's the promise of something big coming, you're engaged watching it to hope that that big thing comes.
Right.
It's like watching like the first Deathly Hallows movie. Like, it's very much, but even then, that kind of
still felt very complete.
That felt very like there's a proper arc there. You're missing.
From what I'm hearing, this is a fantastic film. Like, it has the potential to be like there, and it's just you need to capitalize.
Denis does not miss with this movie.
He doesn't. Denis has directed a beautiful film that I honestly believe if we were to get part 2, if we're to get the completion of his vision, this will go down as one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time.
Easily.
Visually,
that's pretty big.
Yeah. I stand by that too. I stand by that. And this is somebody who did not give a shit about the lore of Dune, has never read the books, didn't care. Even when the trailers came out, all I cared was that it was Denis. But from what we've got, this has the potential to be one of the greatest sci-fi adaptations of all time. But it will only get that name
claim
if we get the trilogy or the part 2, whatever it needs to complete the movie.
And, and that's the thing. This is what we're trying to say, is that this is Denis' film. Like, this is something that you can tell is his favorite project. You can tell he's put every single thing he has into this movie, hoping it succeeds. This is his startup. Like, he wants this movie to pick up, kick it, because he put everything in it. And if it doesn't, it's going to hurt a lot, because there's a potential that you're seeing here that's going to be wasted. So I think it's safe to say, let's get to our recommendations. Daniel, let's start off with you.
Honestly, Dune it's massive. It's beautiful to look at. It's very lore heavy, but I think the cast, the production value, what we've gotten is gorgeous, and I honestly loved what we got. I had a great time watching this movie today, especially in IMAX. Go watch it on the biggest screen as you can. It's an easy watch it for me, but also with the asterisks of knowing you're watching half of a movie. You're watching half of a story. Go in, enjoy yourself, get lost in that world, but email us once you've seen the rest, like once you've seen it, so we could vent our frustrations on not having the rest of it. But it's an easy watch it for me.
I'm going to also give it a watch it because I really want to see a sequel. So please go watch it so we can get that. And I'm going to give the same asterisk that Daniel did, because I think that's all very, very fair to say. Again, we are off next week. Oh, Anthony, do you want to give a recommendation?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
That will be watch it, because I want this movie to
Because you want to watch it. That's why.
I want to watch it. That's why. And I also want this movie. I just don't want to invest my time in this movie when it's never going to complete, and I really want it to complete. Even if it doesn't succeed, I think we need to do it justice by completing it.
Definitely.
I agree.
And I'm excited because once we're gonna basically have a month off of this movie, but when it does come out, we'll do a review with the three of us.
Yeah,
or we could talk,
a follow-up,
vent all of our frustrations even more about it.
Do more spoilery stuff.
Yes.
Again, we are off next week, but we will still have a lot of reviews up. And especially because we're going to be still at TIFF, watching a lot more digital films at home. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much for listening to the Movie Podcast review of Dune. Don't forget, you can catch a new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. And watch out for our review episodes just like this one on all the latest movies and series. Also follow us at the Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. Check out our show notes for all those links and more. Daniel did allude to an email that you want to send us. That's going to be at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. That was This Time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.